This story comes from a forum in Thailand. The original poster says every word of it is true. It happened about 10 years ago, in a small hotel in southern Thailand, and the man in this story didn't believe in ghosts. Funny how that never seems to matter. He split his time between two cities, flying back and forth for work, and his girlfriend, who lived in the city he visited most, always booked the hotel for him. That day it was raining. Traffic had added an extra hour to the drive, and by the time they reached the hotel it was almost evening. "We're full," the receptionist said. He turned to leave, but the manager pulled the receptionist aside and whispered something. So, a moment later, "Sir, we actually do have one room left." He was handed a key, room 308. "Third floor," he assumed. "Second floor, sir," the receptionist said. A key that started with a 3 on the second floor. Strange, but he didn't think much of it. The staircase turned in an L shape, and at the landing, right where the stairs bent, there was a door facing the stairs directly. The kind of placement that's considered bad luck, the kind you're not supposed to build. The door didn't sit flush with the floor. It hovered just slightly, and through the gap, he could see straight into the room. It was room 308. His room. Right beside it, room 307. Door left ajar, lights off. Inside his own room, the smell hit him first. Musty old. Nothing he hadn't smelled in a dozen other hotels before. He hadn't even set his bag down when he heard it. A toilet flushing from next door, he assumed. The lights flickered, then went out completely, then came back on their own. He explored the room a little. Past the door, straight ahead, a balcony, and beyond the wall, a massive banyan tree. Just past the tree, an abandoned house. By evening, he went down for food. Room 307, still ajar, still dark. The staff at the front desk looked at him strangely, a thin, uncomfortable smile he couldn't quite place. He came back later. Room 307, exactly the same. Around 11 p.m., he took a shower, and through the water, he heard something being dragged next door. A heavy, scraping sound. He assumed the guest had finally returned. He fell asleep with the TV on, sound muted, on a call with his girlfriend that never disconnected. He returned to the hotel again the following evening. Room 307, still ajar, still dark. He was starting to notice a pattern now. That night, alone, curiosity got the better of him. He walked close to the gap in the door, and on the handle, something wrapped around it. Thread. Pale, sacred thread wound around and around, at least 10 times. He pushed the door. It resisted, stiff like it hadn't been touched in years. He pushed harder, and it creaked open. Inside, a dressing table sat centered in the room, a red cloth draped over the mirror, black symbols painted across it. He pulled his head back immediately, went straight to his room, turned the TV back on. Just like the night before, the dragging sound came through the wall again. He told himself it was nothing. He fell asleep the same way. TV on, phone connected, volume at 0. Chade. He woke up at 1 a.m. He didn't know why. The TV turned on by itself. Static, no signal. Then the volume started climbing, 0. Then higher still, all the way to 100. He reached for the remote. The channel changed on its own. A man's voice, laughing. Then static again, loud enough to shake the room. He pressed the power button. Nothing. Mute. Nothing. Volume down. Nothing. That's when he understood. This wasn't a broken remote. He unplugged the TV himself, and the room went dark. He looked up. There was a woman standing on his bed. Long hair, a face that looked black. He didn't scream. He couldn't. He had 3 choices. Run. Turn on the lights and face it. Or pretend he saw nothing at all. He chose the third one. He walked back to bed in the dark, pulled the blanket up, gripped it tight against his chest, and pretended to sleep. Then the empty water bottle on the dressing table let out a sudden crushing sound, like someone squeezing it in their hand. Then the closet, old wooden doors sliding open on their own, all the way. Then something landed on the bed, a bounce, like someone jumping onto it, followed by laughter. A child's laughter. He kept his eyes shut, and somehow eventually he fell asleep. He still doesn't know how. Tregan. He woke up at 7 a.m., chills still running through him. The TV worked perfectly now, as if nothing had happened. Before checking out, curiosity pulled him one more time. He searched the room. Under the sink, above the water heater, inside the closet, nothing. Then he checked above the air conditioner. His hand hit something solid. He pulled it down. A small wooden figure, carved into the shape of a person, wrapped in red thread. He started to unwind it. This next one comes from a young woman living in a student dormitory near Bangkok, in a building she'd already called home for 6 or 7 months before any of this started. Her room was on the 6th floor, and during the day, the elevator never felt like anything more than an elevator. Sunlight came through a glass panel near the top, and she could see her own reflection clearly enough that there was never room for imagination. But after dark, riding alone, without her phone or the amulet she usually wore, something in that elevator would change. And strangely, it only ever happened on one single floor, floor 4. The first time the elevator simply stopped there and wouldn't move. She was alone, no phone on her, and the lights inside had gone dark along with it. She assumed it was just a blackout. It was rainy season, after all, and stood there for 2 or 3 minutes before it finally continued on its way. She didn't think much of it. But it kept happening. The doors would open on floor 4 on their own, no button pressed, whether she was heading up or heading down. Twice more it got stuck there completely. Once for almost 10 minutes, lights still on the whole time, which somehow made the waiting worse. Nothing worked. Not the floor buttons, not the alarm. She pressed it anyway. Nothing answered back. Eventually, someone below called the elevator, and it moved again like nothing had happened. She started to wonder, quietly, whether it was just a mechanical fault at floor 4, or whether there was something on that floor that simply didn't like being passed by. Chained her. Then, one evening, a friend mentioned a stray cat that had just given birth near the 2nd floor walkway. She loved cats, so she went down to see them. A small litter, about a week old, already being fed by someone in the building. She went out to buy more food for them. On her way back up, tired and barely paying attention, she pressed the button for her floor. The doors opened on floor 4 instead. She stepped out without thinking, walked halfway down the hall, before she even realized her mistake. Then turned back and took the stairs the rest of the way, avoiding the elevator entirely this time. But she'd forgotten the fish she bought for the cats, so she went back down by elevator again from 6 to 2. When the doors opened, it was floor 4 again, and waiting there in the hallway was the entire cat family, mother and kittens, on a floor she had never once seen them on before. The mother lay curled toward her kittens, but her head was turned the other way, facing the elevator. Watching it, completely still, she fed them anyway, took a few photos to send to friends, thought about adopting one of the kittens, ordinary thoughts, for a very strange place to be having them. When she finally turned to leave, the elevator doors wouldn't close, no matter how many times she pressed the button. She gave up and took the stairs. That night, she closed the curtains, turned on the air conditioning, and fell asleep, almost the moment her head hit the pillow. She woke up to the sound of a key turning in the lock, followed by footsteps, and assumed, half asleep, that it was her boyfriend coming in. She tried to open her eyes. They wouldn't open all the way, just a thin sliver of vision, the kind she recognized from sleep paralysis she'd experienced before. It never used to scare her. At the foot of the bed, something was moving. A dark shape, crawling low across the mattress, its back rising and falling, searching for something on the sheets. She kept watching. She needed to know what it was. Then it sprang upward, landing in a crouch like a goalkeeper bracing for a shot, and turned to face her fully. An old woman, skin black like ash, eyes like empty, dark holes, her body thin enough that bones showed beneath torn, filthy clothes, hair long and matted, her frame smaller than an ordinary person's should be. It bounced twice, then leapt, one single, impossibly high jump, landing directly on the bed, on the side where no amulet had been placed. The mattress sank under the weight. She shut her eyes as tight as she could. She didn't want to see it any closer than this. Then it grabbed her hair and pulled. She let her head fall back with the motion. It pulled again. She tried to recite a protective chant in her mind, but her mouth wouldn't move. She thought of her mother. She thought of every word she knew that was supposed to ward something like this away. Nothing worked. Then she remembered the amulet resting on the nightstand, and in her mind, she called out its name, asking it for help. The grip released instantly. She still couldn't move right away. Something kept pulling at her eyelids, urging her back under, but she fought against it, forced herself upright, grabbed the amulet and put it on, grabbed her phone, turned on every light in the room, put on music, and called her mother, then a friend, then her boyfriend before finally going to sleep in someone else's room for the night. The next morning, back in her own room, she found a clump of her own hair, sitting exactly where it had happened. After that, she never experienced anything like it again. She stopped questioning the elevator's habits, and simply made sure she always had her phone with her after dark, until one night, months later, her boyfriend was visiting, and around 1 a.m., she went down alone to open the key card gate for him, tired, half asleep, and without her phone this time. As the elevator reached floor 4, a soft chime rang out, the kind that plays when someone calls the elevator from another floor. The doors didn't open. Then, a voice. A man's voice, middle-aged, almost playful, saying just one word, "Hey." It came from inside the elevator. She was completely alone. She said afterward that the voice was worse than anything she'd actually seen. It was close, right beside her ear, the way a friend might lean in and say it standing right next to you. She rushed down and told her boyfriend everything. He didn't fully believe her, joking that a gecko must have gotten into the elevator's speaker system. They rode up together after that, him standing near the door, her bracing herself across from him as the numbers climbed. 3, 4, the voice came again. Hey, the doors opened. Her boyfriend bolted out immediately, checking the stairwell, checking the hallway. No one, no footsteps, no sound of a closing door, and in that hallway every sound echoed clearly. If someone really had pressed that